Welcome, everybody, to another episode of 60 Seconds of Stoicism, the podcast, the only 60-second podcast on the internet that lasts for about a half hour. My name is Ryan Lee Mays. I am the writer and creator of the Octod program, and I'm joined by my wife, Melinda.
Hey, guys. Happy Sunday.
Happy Sunday, and we are going to talk about a fun, controversial, interesting, common, we all deal with it, food. Food. Before we do that, I want to say a special thanks. I want to say a special thanks to the people, friends of ours that are in Bosnia. I have a friend named Sam that went to Bosnia and brought the Octod program with him over there and had friends and family read it, and just very, very thankful and grateful for support. You know, it's exciting when you find out that your book has made it across the ocean, across the seas, and is there. So hi, everybody in Bosnia. Thank you so much. We really, truly appreciate it. All right, we're going to start with our discussion on food. Let's just start off with a question tonight. So, what do you think is the number one reason for overeating?
Personally, for me, so stress is a factor. And let's see.
I think stress is a factor for me, too. But I think... go ahead. Do you have another one?
No, yeah, it was like stress. Boredom is one of them.
Yeah, boredom's mine. I think you got it right there. Boredom is mine for sure.
What was the other one that I said earlier? Because there was another one.
We were talking about a little bit before we started on there. You said stress and family situations?
Yeah, I think it's just...
We're going to talk about that in a little bit.
Yeah, social gatherings. That's
social
right.
Gatherings,
social gatherings. Because it's just like everywhere we go, whether it's for family or school functions or church, potluck Sundays. So, yeah. For me, it was stress and social gatherings.
Think about where, just as a society, especially here in America, where a lot of eating takes place. It is over business lunches and business dinners and get-togethers for birthdays and get-togethers for graduations. And, it's always an eating activity. Nobody ever says, hey, let's celebrate your birthday and go out back and go for a walk. It's always something like, let's get dinner together,
Definitely.
So a lot of opportunities are there for us to eat. What we're going to do tonight is we're going to juxtapose American eating with the Stoic concept of eating. And the reason why I say American is because born and raised, proud American, but we have lost our path in eating in this country, and I am an example of that. The way I've grown up in my life, the eating habits that not only were taught to me, but also learned through that, and then the ones I just haven't let go in my life. And thankfully, through the Octod program and a lot of strength from people around me, a lot of support, I have started to lose some weight. So thank goodness for that. But that's just a side note. We're going to talk about eating. So, Stoic ways of eating. Two things that we want to focus on, two things that really kind of stick out when you kind of talk about the Stoic mindset of eating is, one, eat slowly and intentionally, eat with mindfulness on that. So those are the two things. Slowly and intentionally, eat from mindfulness. I'm going to read you a quote here from Musonius Rufus, which, by the way, we have our video podcast out now. It's 60 Seconds of Stoicism. We really do keep it to around 60 seconds. It's not like our podcast here. You can catch it on YouTube. Go to 60 Seconds of Stoicism on there. We got a couple videos up, one about Rufus. But he has a quote here. Since this behavior is very shameful, he's talking about eating, overeating specifically. Since this behavior is very shameful, the opposite behavior, eating in an orderly and moderate way, and thereby demonstrating self-control, is exceptionally good. Doing this, though not easy, demands much care and training. Why? Although many pleasures tempt human beings to do wrong and compel them to act out against their own interests, the pleasures connected with food are undoubtedly the most difficult temptations to combat. Rufus says, out of all pleasures that you can experience as a human being, the pleasure that comes from eating is the worst to combat.
Yeah, definitely.
Do you agree with that?
I do. I do agree.
So, what is it that's so hard to combat? What is it when food becomes a temptation and it's no longer just nutrients for living, when it becomes a temptation? What kind of leads you to that process? Is it the smell? Is it the look? Is it just, feeling now it's time to eat because I haven't eaten in a while?
Yeah, it could be a little bit of everything. And it's right in front of us, It's when we walk out the door. It's inside our house. It's in our pantry. It's It's the TV shows that we watch. And so I think for me, it's a lot of visual. It's right there. It's easy, accessible. So.
Yeah. It is. And going back to the TV show, we talked about this. You and I had a conversation about this, that everything has to be this gastronomic, pleasurable experience. You can't just have a slice of turkey.
No.
It's got to be some kind of bowl of bolognese and, some type of, I don't know, created on the third level of next level chef on there. But you know what I'm saying? It's got to be something that's amazing.
Something gourmet.
Yeah, or we're not satisfied with it. And then we're also not satisfied with portion size, which is another thing that we deal with here in America. We always say don't mess with Texas because everything's bigger there, right? Bigger in Texas. Well, that has infected the rest of the country. So everything is bigger everywhere. And the reason why is we demand it. We're paying the money for it. We want to get not only our plates worth, but some to take home with us for the ride home. There is an old episode of King of Queens where Doug comes home with some fast food, and he said, he bought 2 hamburgers, I think it was, and she said, why'd you buy 2? And he said, 1 to eat on the way home and 1 to eat at home. So that's kind of the American thinking for it. We want to have more. So that's one thing that gets in our way too. I want to read we'll kind of talk about a quote from Epictetus when he was asked to give his thoughts on God and food, or how food pertains to eating in a godly manner for that. And Epictetus said, you should eat the same way that you live towards God, justfully, cheerfully, equitably, temperate, in an orderly manner. And he says that if you call for your servant to bring you some hot water and your servant never shows up, or he brings you lukewarm water, or just you never see him ever again after you ask it, don't get upset, because when you don't get upset, that's pleasing to God. So to me, that kind of talks about restaurant life a little bit with us, You go out there, you open that menu, don't order everything you see on there. Think about the things that you're ordering. Think about the healthiness of them. Is it something grilled or is it something deep fried? And then be kind to your waiters as well onto that, because they're working hard, and you not getting all the food you want is not the worst thing in your life. So, very good. I want to pull out 3 ideas here for you. And we're going to discuss these. 3 important things with eating. 1, we eat for nutrients. Seems pretty self-explanatory for that. We eat for nutrients. Our body requires a certain amount of nutrients to live. When we become deficient in those things, it can cause our body to go one way or the other. And so, very, very simple.
I've definitely noticed a difference. And before we started, talking more about, be more mindful about what we're eating and stuff. And so that played a factor in, arthritis and stuff like that, and flare-ups, and, just the weight gain, not having enough energy. So, just being more mindful of nutritional foods. And it just really has had a really big effect on how my body feels lately.
Do you ever think we'll get to a place in this society where we think about the nutrients over the taste?
Yeah.
You think so? Okay. I don't know. I don't know if somebody's like, man, I cannot wait to get home to get some nutrients. I
guess you're right.
And they might.
I
hope I do.
Not in that way, maybe not. But I think after us, now that we're trying to eat better, I start to think more of how could I make that salmon? How could I make those vegetables?
Mm-hmm.
I maybe don't think like, how can I, like you said with the nutrients thing, but like I'm starting to think more healthily. Like, how can I put these ingredients together and it becomes very nutritional and very delicious at the same time.
And you know what? There are people out there like that, and my hat is tipped off to you. I'm trying to become one of you. But they're like, yeah, man, I can't wait to go home and get that fuel because I just worked out. I got to repair my muscles. And I got to do it. And they look at that as a refueling process. And it goes back to the old Socrates quote that wise men, eat to live and foolish men live to eat. So you're eating to live, refuel your body, get those nutrients so that you can move on. Okay, the next thought. All right. We eat to live. We talked about that a little bit with Socrates there, but we eat to live. And so not just for nutrients, and you're saying, Ryan, that seems like the same exact thing, but we eat to live as far as how it helps us commune with the people around us.
That's true.
So I could just duck in a closet and eat some protein bars and some collard greens and some other stuff and get a bunch of nutrients. But eating to live, throwing yourself out into society, being a part of the world around you, that requires so much more discipline. So eating to live and be a part of humanity. We're talking about social eating for it. You had an interesting take talking about, Mexican culture and growing up in it. So how does that equate to eating socially, eating to be part of the life around you, and how that can also be a downfall?
Yeah, growing up as a kid. So first of all, in our house, we were told, you're not going to get up from that table until you clean that plate, and so that was part of it, the upbringing, and and I can't really fault them because their parents did the same thing, because we didn't have a lot of money, and so part of it was a money issue. We eat what you have in front of you. Don't be picky. Don't put it to waste because, it costs a lot of money just to make that little bit of food. But then also it was partly culture, As Hispanics, it was cheap to make tortillas, rice, and beans. You got your staples right there. And then anything else that was added, your meat and stuff. So, and then we throw in like pastries. My grandpa was
very good.
A bread maker, he made his sweet breads and stuff. So yeah, it was just upbringing, financially, and then like culture that all played the factor in that. Yeah. No,
that's very good. Going on the other side as a white boy growing up, it was white bread, bologna, and mayonnaise. And very little nutritional value in any of those things. When you talk about processed food with bologna, that's just every part of the animal that you don't want to name thrown in there. And you know what? I love it. It tastes great, but it's also not the best for us. Time for another word from Rufus here. So I'm going to read this passage. At each meal, there's not one chance for making a mistake, but several. And we don't think about that. We can actually screw up eating. We don't understand the food we eat is bad, but actually eating. The person who eats more than he should makes a mistake. Okay, we got that.
Yep.
Gluttony, Bible says not to be glutton too.
Overindulgence.
So, overindulgence in that. So does the person who eats in a hurry. Now that is me. I do. I eat in a hurry. There's places to go. There's things to do. I got to get done. We sat down for a meal the other day, and you and I had roughly the same amount. And I think when I finished, I looked up, and you still had 3/4 of your left. And I was like, wow, I ate way too fast on that. But think about what he's telling us here. He's telling us to take time to slow down, appreciate it. Not only to be thankful for it as you're eating it, but to understand where it's coming from, the nutrients are going into your body. Take time to enjoy it, and then you might be inclined to eat less because you're not in such a hurry for that.
You're going to feel full faster.
Absolutely. Okay. Or also as a mistake, who is the person who is enthralled by gourmet food, and we just said that, see? Yep, absolutely. Like, this is what my life is about. Now, I'm not saying if you're a foodie, you're a bad person. If that is what your hobby is, great. You do it in moderation, right? And that's it. There's a show we watch, Beard versus Food, on YouTube.
That's true.
This guy is, as far as a physical specimen goes, he's near perfect. And he would laugh that I would say that if he ever found that out. But very thin, very muscular, works out, super healthy. But he does these food challenges where he gorges himself all the time on these gourmet food things, ridiculous challenges. And then when he's done, he doesn't eat for 2 or 3 days to get it out of his body. So I kind of think that's we just crave that next gourmet thing. I've got to have this, one of them was a donut that was also a grilled cheese sandwich with ham. It looked amazing. But you're like, oh man, what is that going to do to my body? So
that's true.
Craving that gourmet food is another chance for us to mess up. All right, and then another person to mess up. So is the person who favors sweets over nutritious food, or who does not share equally with his fellow diners. So some of you guys out there have a sweet tooth, And I have to say, mine is more salty. I'm a savory guy.
That's me.
Yeah. But there are people out there that love the sweets, and we were just talking about it with one of our kids about how sweets is not good, and our middle child was just like, well, I love sweets, so oh well, So which was very funny, but yeah, sweets are that temptation. I think Epictetus refers to them as dainties, like little things that are just there's no nutritional value. It's just there to tempt the tongue and nothing else.
They're like accessories.
Yes, exactly. That's what it is. And then one who's not shared equally with his fellow diners. So yes, if you go and get first, seconds, and thirds before anybody else gets their firsts, yes, that's not a good thing either. He says, we also make a mistake when we leave the work we are doing to eat, even when it is not mealtime. So taking a break to say, I'm going to go eat because I'm bored. I just want a change of scenery. Or maybe you're writing or doing paperwork or typing on the computer and you're just mindlessly shoving snacks into your mouth. Been there many times. It's not time to eat. It's not mealtime. See, snacking for the Greeks was a handful of seeds. Snacking for Americans is hot Cheetos with dill pickles dipped in cream cheese and
bean dip.
And bean dip. Like, I'm not lying to you guys. That's some of you kids out there would know that. So that's the kind of snacking. When you look at them, you're like, man, this is completely different. I could eat a few olives like they did with the Greek diet or the Roman diet in Musonius' case, or I can go eat all of this processed food, all this processed sugar, because it's easy. It comes in a package. It's cheap. I can it's portable. I can carry it with me everywhere. And what a mistake that is to do that. So, okay. Very good. All right. Another question is, and another Stoic way of thinking, I guess, is, do you consider where your food comes from before you eat it?
I think most of the time we try. We've really been putting a lot more effort into that. But I think, because our schedules were so busy, it was what's easy on the way home. Mm-hmm. We have a lot to do tonight, or it was just a really bad day at work. And so, but now we're really trying to be more mindful of shopping ahead of time.
Yes.
Thinking out the ingredients, the meal planning. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. If you guys hear a helicopter in the background, we're not under attack. It's just by our window here, so all is safe, but it keeps flying around here. Yes, convenience is a big thing for us. We've done that a lot. Our parents did that a lot. Unfortunately, we have things so backwards in this country where processed foods are cheaper than natural foods, whole foods, clean foods, and so that lends to us buying them more frequently. It's cheaper. Thankfully, there's a lot of good organizations out there now that are selling, the amount of produce that gets delivered to a store then rejected and sent back because it maybe is funny looking or they just have too much of it that used to go to waste now is being given to people. So thank goodness for that. But yeah, it's our want to have what's quick and easy and what's dangling right there in front of us to grab. So, yep, also not a good thing. I want to read just a quick little blurb because this leads into my next question here. This is from the Octave program. It's called Living Daily with Food Temptations. You must live a life surrounded by food, but for many people, eating becomes a controlling action in their lives. The next meal or snack becomes the motivation to get through the day or sometimes even make it out of bed. When Seneca advises us to set aside a couple of days to have little food, he is imploring us to find mastery over our own eating by voluntarily depriving ourselves of the food that controls us and in turn finding mastery over the way we eat, buy, prepare, and serve our food. When we talk about that, Seneca talks about setting aside a few days to eat very little for that to kind of get that self-mastery back. But I don't think I give a second thought to where I shop sometimes. I don't give a second thought to how a few cents could make a difference between the health quality of food and, I could go to the store and yes, it's 50 cents more over here, but it's been naturally sourced, it's clean, it's healthy, or I just shop here because it's convenient and it's 50 cents cheaper. And I know that. So, yeah, thinking about where that stuff comes, that's what Seneca's talking about. And putting aside that want to just indulge, but have that mastery to say, no, you've eaten enough. That's it. Pull yourself away from the table and get back to work. So let's go on for just a little bit more here. Let us think for a moment about why our need to eat, taste, and feel full consumes us. We eat high-fat, high-sugar foods because we love the way they taste, even though they're setting the foundations for heart disease and diabetes. Some of us eat out of our depression or guilt because it's something we can control, and it gives us a momentary sensation of dopamine running up through our brains and bringing us a second of joy. Musonius Rufus recognized this when he stated, "The time we spend digesting our food exceeds the time we spend consuming it. If God had wanted us to eat for pleasure, the time we spend consuming and enjoying our food would have been longer." So yes, the time it goes through the track of our body and out the other end, it takes a while. But when you taste it, it's just mere seconds. That's it. So when you kind of stop to think about it, it really puts the eating process in perspective for us.
Yeah, it's having that sense of being full. Mm-hmm. And not even full. It goes to another level, and then you feel really guilty afterwards.
Yeah. And we want those things to not control us. They do. But Seneca's talking about getting that self-mastery back over yourself by saying, you know what, I'm going to tell you, body, what you need. And it goes back to, we talk about in the book, but we also talk about here on the podcast, where our mind is the doctor, our body is the patient. And for so long, our patient tells our doctor what to do. I'm going to eat the food because it tastes good. I'm not going to exercise because I'm lethargic tonight. I'm not going to read because I've got TV to watch and other things to do. When it should be our mind telling our body, you've eaten enough, get up off the couch and move, stop watching TV and read something of sustenance that's going to actually change your mind. And that's the stuff that's important. That's the stuff that we care about for it, or we should care about for it. So that's very good. All right. One other thing is we talk about the way we eat processed versus product food. The processed food is the things that come out of a machine. The things, the preservatives are added into. The product foods are your local animal products, things that come from, sustainable farms, your eggs, your milk, your dairy, those things that maybe have not necessarily ran through a processor like your Cheese Whiz. So
farmers markets.
Yeah, farmers markets. So taking the time to look for those things. Rufus was very much for that. He was for eating nuts, seeds, honey, eggs, anything that didn't require the death of the animal. So milk, cheese, you could have, but also for things that require very little preparation. Mm. Going back to that statement about how we have very little time, which is why we buy those things, this is telling us you don't have to. But if we set a bowl out on the table of raw carrots, radishes, almonds, seeds, and a little bit of honey, our kids are going to throw that bowl at us, and we're going to get injured in the process of it. So do you have any ideas on how we can minimize preparation but still eat healthy on a day-to-day basis? Yeah. Like, how do we make sure that our families are happy without putting too much preparation into it?
I mean,
if that makes any sense.
I know, and it's kind of hard because we haven't been eating past 3:00, so you and I have really been trying to do intermittent fasting and preparing what we're eating beforehand, so we're not eating after that time. So, man, I think the kids are starting to see that. They're trying to follow the example. I know our youngest is. She's been really curious, hey, what are you guys doing? I can see a difference. I can see that you guys are a lot more healthy. But it's just being mindful of how we're preparing things and not eating past a certain time. I think that's starting to rub off on the kids. And us just putting better and healthier things in the refrigerator for them. I know that we try to tell our youngest daughter, hey, it's okay to have this stuff, but in moderation.
Yes.
As long as, I could let you have the hot Takis, but there also has to be another healthy thing that you choose to go with that lunch. And so she's being, she's doing a lot better at that. If anything, sometimes she's like, hey, Mom, I want some oranges or I want some apples this time.
Yeah, she does. She requests those things.
So, yeah, we've been just really trying to set that example for the kids. They've been just more watching us and then requesting what they want. And now we're making sure we buy those items from the store.
That's
you
good.
know, making it accessible to them.
I think that's part of it. I think that's maybe one of 2 or 3 things that's necessary. One is buying ahead, which you already mentioned earlier. Buying things ahead, planning out your week, buying those things. 2, meal prepping, where maybe you know you're going to have identify your days that are busy. Wednesday and Thursday, just a complete nightmare at work for me. I can't get home and do it. Okay, well, those are the meals you're going to prep on Sunday then for that. Maybe you go ahead and get those chicken breasts, already baked up, and you have your sides to go with it. And it's just a quick throw in the oven to heat them up. Or, oh my gosh, the air fryer, guys. There is nothing that I love more than the air fryer than God and my wife. Because the air fryer is the greatest thing in the world. And my kids. Sorry, guys. Yeah, my kids. You guys, the air fryer is very close, though, to you guys. So it's like my other child. I love the air fryer because it is so quick. It does make things healthier when you cook it. I'm not going to plug a particular brand, but we got a new one that is a joy in my life. So when I'm have to quickly prepare things for the kids, I can throw a bunch of salmon in there, cook it in a few minutes while I'm prepping everything else, and be done with dinner in less than 20 minutes. And preparation is a big thing for that. And then one other thing I want to go back to you said putting the right things in your refrigerator, I think, and your pantry as far as that goes. So making sure that, especially with your children, when they go, they're not going to jump in the car and go to the store, most of them. They're going to say, this is what I got, this is what I'm going to eat. Yeah. And it gives them, and then they find joy in it. And, I have my 15-year-old asking for apple slices and hummus or peanut butter, to go with them. Like, that's great.
No, I feel very fortunate because, honestly, I really try to raise my kids differently, telling them, hey, just eat until you're full, but also allowing them to learn other foods, other cultures, not just the same old thing. So I would say that they like a little bit of everything, which is awesome, and they grew up loving vegetables. So honestly, if anything, they beg for vegetables all the time. Hey, get us some more vegetables. So
that's very good.
I feel very fortunate.
And because of that, it's okay for us to indulge time to time. And that is, Musonius is talking about the pursuit of these gastronomic pleasures, but we're talking about the once in a while. We went to what is our new favorite place in the world.
Oh, man.
If you've never had Cali tacos, well, your life's not complete. So,
and they had to put Dutch Brothers right next to it, and then
a nothing bundt cake right next to that. It's the trifecta of indulgence.
Exactly.
As Rufus might have called it. So, yeah, but, we don't go every day. We don't go every week. Being able to go every once in a while and, eat in moderation when you're there, not overeat. Like, you ordered tacos today, and after 2, you're like, I'm good. Yeah. Like, that's it. And so, that's the kind of thing. So, yes, you can have those moments of indulgence. That's okay. It's how do you live your day-to-day life with that? And so that's the thing that we always have to reach for. I want to say one other thing before we wrap up today about intermittent fasting. And there is a section in the book where I talk about going 8 days for 800 calories. And it is the number one hardest thing for anybody to do on the Octod program, which is why I put a lot of alternatives in the back of the book for you to do if you can't do that.
I think every person that has read our book and has tried the challenge, that's always the one that sticks out, that they have the hardest.
It's true. And that is because Seneca meant it to be hard when he said you need to take a few days to eat very little on there. And again, just a few days. Now, again, we don't put that in there for anybody that's eating or dealing with an eating disorder or has medical conditions or is not healthy enough. You have to see your doctor in order to do that. But it is a challenge. And by the 3rd day, you notice your body starts to shift. And it's interesting. The 3rd or 4th day, and you're like, actually, I can get by on 800 calories today.
For me, it was after the 3rd day. And then after that, I was just kind of like, you know what? I can do this. Like, I started to get really... It was a challenge at first, but then after that, I was like... My body started to get used to it. The control,
self-mastery.
Yeah, the self-mastery was like, man, like, I got this now. I see what they're talking about. Yeah. And then I started to find that it wasn't just the eating part that I started to challenge. Like, it was everything else in my life. Other things that I was applying that same thing to as well.
No, that's very good. And this is not a long-term program. It's not a weight loss program. It was not meant for you to eat 800 calories for the rest of your life. It was for 8 days to show you can do it, to be master over yourself. And it's very difficult. And again, if you can't do that, there's lots of other things. Going 8 days without sugar, going 8 days without caffeine, going 8 days with sleeping on the floor, which is something the Stoics used to do to show some austerity. So there's other things in there. But yes, challenging yourself to do that. So how do we wrap all this up tonight and put it in a neat little basket on how to eat like a Stoic? So let me see if you agree with these. Point number 1, eat natural when you can.
Yes.
Okay. Point number 2, eat slowly.
Yes.
Point number 3, consider where all your food comes from before you eat it.
Definitely yes.
I believe it was Aurelius that said when he sees a dead animal in front of him before he eats, he's like, this is the carcass of an animal. You don't want to jump in and overindulge when you have that kind of thinking, but think about where your food comes from. Number 4, meal prep.
Yeah. That's really important.
Yeah.
It's really been the number one thing that's helped this house.
That's good. And number 5, and probably the most important, change the way you see food. It's a mindset. If you have to cut back on calories, if you have to take everything out of your home and replace it with natural things or good things, it's okay to indulge every once in a while, but change your mindset on what food is. Food is a means to live. Food is also a means to not die that we have to have. And food can have the effect of putting years on your life or taking those years away. So we have to treat it very seriously. We kind of had fun tonight with eating, but for us, it's a big epidemic in America. And thankfully, you and I are using the Stoic practices to help get our lives in control when it comes to that. And we wish the same for you as well. Thank you guys so much for listening. We really, really do appreciate it. Please check out our brand new channel. There's only a couple videos up because it is brand new off the presses channel. 60 seconds of Stoicism on there.
Go in there and subscribe, guys.
Yes, please subscribe and please like. The first episode is on Portia Cantonis, where we celebrate International Women's Day. Mm-hmm. The second episode is on Musonius Rufus and his interaction with the Syrian king. So thank you guys so much for your support. We really appreciate it. And please continue to give us comments, suggestions, ideas, questions for how we can make this show better and reach the topics that are important to you through the lens of Stoicism, faith, and psychology. Thank you all. Have a great night. And we'll see you next time. Oh, and we also forgot our call-out line, Semper Studiosus.
Oh, Semper Studiosus, guys.
Bye, guys.